Welcome to this episode of the Conservative Christian Ecology Podcast. My name is Justin Allison, and I will be your host here this week for the show. And we have several things I'd like to discuss. The first of which is a story about natural gas wells in North Texas. Recently there was a survey done by a few of the North Texas universities. SMU was one of them, in which earthquakes that happened a few years ago were found to be most probably, I should say, linked to wastewater wells from natural gas drilling. North Texas residents have a unique relationship with natural gas drilling. While we enjoy the prospect of having a cleaner source of energy coming from our own backyards, and many residents enjoy getting a royalty check, some questions still linger. I've previously mentioned the citywide query of benzene emissions in Fort Worth. Now, North Texans have reason to suspect that gas well operations may have caused earthquakes in the area. Some of the potential problems cited in gas well operations include benzene emissions, groundwater pollution in Parker County, sinkholes in New Mexico, and now potentially even earthquakes. That's right. Getting into a whole new realm of accusations here. And while I'm not one to call for a cessation of gas well operations, I do think that more responsibility should be taken by the companies involved. I realize that the costs will likely just be passed on to the consumer, but I think that the cost increase would be for a good reason. Safety. Cheap natural gas, as it's usually advertised, may be a good source of energy, but it seems to also have some potentially hazardous effects on people and wildlife in the area where the wells operate. In light of these issues, I think about the charge in Genesis chapter 2:15, in which God commands humanity to care for the garden. What is meant there is creation, all of creation. Old Testament theologian Walter Brueggemann demonstrated that God uses land, the earth, as a mediator in relationship to his people. Not in the same way that Christ is a mediator, but in what I mean is that the land is sort of a mediator of blessing. When the people of God, Israel in the Old Testament, are following God, when they are obeying, when they're acting justly, when they love mercy, when they are humble, when they're doing those things, when they're following the law, that's when the land really is the promised land. It really is a land flowing with milk and honey. But when the people act unjustly, the land's barren. Times of drought come. Rain does not fall. The people ultimately even get carried off into exile. So could the negative effects of natural gas operations be the result of the land showing God's displeasure? Perhaps, but that issue is certainly up for debate at this point. Now it seems the prudent thing to do would be to take proper precautions and proceed carefully. I'd also like to point everyone who listens over to a friend of mine's blog. You can find it. You can find a link on the website, I should say. And if you just want to do a Google search, just check Fox's Wanderings. That's a friend of mine. He's a PhD student in Old Testament as well. He has just a great blog that I hope you'll check out that features many archaeological articles, updates, that sort of thing. and describes how they are significant for biblical studies. He's a fellow biblioblogger, and he's a great thinker as well. He's a nice guy. He and I actually interviewed both for the same PhD program, which is ironically not where either of us attend. That's how we met, and we took a class together as well after that, and he's just a great guy. His recent post about the discoveries in Thessalonica is a great example of what he does. He includes a link to a press conference and a picture of what he's discussing. Mike includes a discussion of the discovery and some comments about its significance. I like to check up on a site every few days, even once a week, just to see what's new in that area and what's going on. He likes to keep up with that sort of thing, and it helps me stay on top of the new finds, the new developments there. And now I'd like to talk about probably the most controversial topic of all right now in the United States, the healthcare bill. Recently, March 23rd, wrote a little ditty on why I'm against the healthcare bill. I'm just going to describe that to you here right now. I'm not against healthcare for the poor, even if that costs me money. But I would prefer that the church provide that service. I'm afraid that the government is replacing the church in the role of caring for the poor. James 1:27 says, "This is pure and undefiled religion in the sight of our God and Father, to visit orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world." Personally, I am unable to agree with the healthcare bill